Well, hey, Becoming Me, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend, Lindsey. Lindsey, welcome to Becoming.
Hey, I'm excited to be here.
So I'm excited because Lindsey and I have had mutual friends for a while, and we finally met in real life in Atlanta not long ago with Jenny, who you've had the privilege of seeing her Becoming story recently as well. And from the second I picked up Lindsey at the airport, I knew I was going to love this woman, and she has encouraged me from day one. So I can't wait for you to hear her story and her journey today. And Lindsey, to kick it off, who is Lindsey?
Who is Lindsey? I'm still figuring it out. Definitely still figuring it out. But I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and have moved a lot. I am just moved back to Nashville in July, and so I'm just kind of in a season of like resettling and trying to just have deep roots. I feel like I'm someone that like loves people and relationships, and have been really trying to be open and sort of follow where God's leading, and that's led to a lot of change. And a friend once said, like, no one knows what that's cost you, you know, that I think there are a lot of people that like thrive in that. And are always kind of just like looking for the new thing. But I like really thrive with like comfort and people and things like that. And so, I definitely am still kind of in process of figuring it out. But
I love it.
One of my fun facts that's just totally random that I always use it like as the icebreaker when they like make you tell truth and a lie is that I'm related to George Washington.
No, stop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And my mom's maiden name is Washington, and they like my grandfather when he was alive had like one of his like guns or his revolvers or whatever. So that's just a random fun.
That is so cool. I did not even know that. That's pretty crazy.
I know. Most people would not. So,
I love it.
I don't lead with it usually.
I love it. I love how you said too that you're still in process, and that's the whole point of Becoming, because truly all of us are always in process, and we never on this side of eternity will reach we arrived state. I love that you describe yourself that way, because that's the truth for all of us. And I know that you have an incredible story, and I would love for you to just take the next several minutes and unpack that for us.
Yeah, it's funny. Just thinking about my Becoming story, I think of kind of being like a young girl, and you know how like you play that game MASH?
Yes.
You know, and it was like, you would like lay out your life and the options on a piece of paper. And it was like, are you going to live in a mansion, apartment, or house? And so much was of what you filled out on that sheet of paper was like, who are you going to marry? And how many kids are you going to have? And so I think that as a girl, like, the only thing that I kind of knew was that someday I'd probably be married and have kids. And so I look at myself now at 41, and neither of those things have happened. And I think that I have had to do a really big work in just sort of reconciling that, and like looking at my life like I'm not a failure, or that's not a disappointment, and that life is like so rich and full, because it has been. I have like so many amazing people. I have so many amazing kids in my life. I have gotten to go and do things that like singleness has really been an opportunity, as well as it's been something that's been hard. And so I think all that to say is that the one thing I sort of knew as a girl about things I wanted for my life, I haven't come to fruition. And so I've been sort of in this journey of really trying to sort of be open-handed and walk through life. A friend, Ian Cron, once said in a talk that he felt like sin was, I'm like raising my hands really high because that doesn't work. But he said he thinks of sin like when we're trying to like grab something, or hold on to something, or push something away that God intends to give us. And I just think of that as like such a beautiful like posture lesson of like, how do I want to walk through life? And like, I want to like walk through life just open and ready. I'm not great at that, but a lot of times I feel anxious and scared or don't want things. But, and so like in my career, which a lot of my life has been focused on, like, even in that, like, I wasn't that kid that grew up and wanted to be a firewoman or a president or like, or a lawyer, or I think I always thought I would do something in business, but I didn't have like a clear vision for myself. And I've always been so envious of people that have, like, I'm like, I wish I knew like what my dream was.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's really, even in that, I've had to sort of just walk through opportunities as they presented themselves. And just, it's fun now to look back and see how sort of things have built on each other. And I look back and be like, oh, like God was working in all these things. And so that's fun. And it feels, again, like it's a lot of God at work and not me at work, because if I had a plan, I would take credit for all of it, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you shared, the concept of walking open-handed too. And that's one of the first things that Jenny Catron had told me, that Emily, like when you live close-fisted, like you're trying to direct something that God is saying, like open up your hands and walk in the direction that I lead you. And, this might bleed a little bit into the next question, but I would love to just hear even practical steps you're taking with the tension of, like you opened up with, we play that MASH game as little girl. And we think this is how our life is going to go. And I know so many of us in the Becoming Me community really are wrestling with, okay, I thought at this point in my life, I would have XYZ, or I would be married and I would have 2 kids and all my friends have that, or I would be at this stage in my career and I'm not. So in the moments when you feel yourself going here, or the Friday nights that you're scrolling through Instagram and it seems like everybody else has accomplished MASH, and you're still figuring it out, what steps are you taking?
Well, I think this has been like a fun season of like kind of learning for me, because I've really been in like a year-long transition. I resigned. I worked with an organization called If Gathering, and I resigned last spring, and have been kind of slow about making life transitions, but have made a lot of really big ones. I've moved and like moving into new work, and that I had helped build and grow and was very relationally invested with our team. And so there was a lot of grief in leaving that. And so I feel like I've been super like a learner in this season, and more than I have been in previous seasons. Yeah. And like some of the resources that have been like just amazing for me there's a book by Parker Palmer called Let Your Life Speak. And it's about vocation, and it's like 100 pages. It's this little, like kind of corny looking pink book, but it is so good. I think 5 people told me to read it before I sat down and did it. And I was like, why didn't I read this 10 years ago? It could have like really helped me. And it's like, he's an incredible writer. So it's beautifully written, and it just was very deep and powerful. Like one of those books that you underline the whole thing, you're like, so that was a huge resource. And then, there was something else. Oh, on the singleness thing, I just listened to Annie Downs had done a podcast with Mike Foster's on his fun therapy. And just talks about sort of being single and reconciling that with, just her faith in God, and like, how do we like, what is the right posture for that, and disappointment in that, and kind of lamenting, but also like moving forward. Yeah. So that was a really good resource. Oh, and then I was having I described a lot. I described the season that I was in kind of this fall to a friend as I felt like I was in a waiting room, and I knew that like God had me in that waiting room for a reason. And like, I would wake up some days and I'd be like, I trust that God's going to like open the door when it's time and show me like what the next thing is. And I would feel like peaceful and at ease and trusting and confident in like how God had moved before and that he would move again. And then there would be other mornings where I'd wake up and I would be like beating on the door and be like, freaking God, like open the door. It is time. Like I've sat in this waiting room. I have like looked in every nook and cranny of myself. Like I'm ready. Or maybe I'm not. I mean, I think that it's like even in those moments of beating on the door that you realize like, okay, maybe I'm not ready.
Yep.
But so a friend gave me a copy of Brenna Manning's book, Ruthless Trust.
Okay.
It is so good. It was like I told the friend that gave it to me, I was like, it was like a prescription for what I needed to hear. Because it talks about trust is like the combination of like faith and hope together. And I think I've been good at faith, but I haven't been great at hope. And believing sort of like that good things might come for me.
Yeah.
And he just really, the book totally spoke to me. So those are some of the things that I've learned and that have helped me sort of in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for those of you watching, we'll have all the links to those resources here so you can easily click them. And I'm excited to dive in. I haven't read any of those books or listened to the episode yet. So that's
great. Yeah. Let me know what you think.
I will,
really all were like, oh, this is so good. So
it sounds amazing. I love it. Thanks for sharing that too.
Yeah.
And if you were just hanging out at your favorite coffee shop in Nashville and you're talking with another woman on her own becoming journey, and you were encouraging her, much like your friend encouraged you with that book, what would you say to help her?
I think it just is like sort of looking deep, encouraging her to like look deep within herself and like what is right in front of her today and like running after it. I think that where it all feels so like hard is when we spend too much time looking too far down the road and like wondering how we're going to get there and if we're going to get there. And, like if I look at today, I know that I have enough, like I have a warm bed, like I'm so blessed. I've got friends, but if I'm looking at like, am I ever going to be able to have kids? The time is running out. Like that all feels really stressful and anxious. And they're both true and real. Mm-hmm. But I think that like just keeping my eyes on today has allowed me to feel more peaceful. So
that's so good. I love that. And it's such a good reminder, even as you and I have chatted, that you can get asked that question, what's your 5-year plan or 10-year plan? And it's so overwhelming. And I love how you tied peace to just being rooted in today. Yeah. And if we're looking at something farther, like we can't control tomorrow at all. We're not even living there yet. And we're not promised tomorrow. But we can have peace and confidence if we're looking at what's in front of us today.
Totally.
That's huge. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and how you're becoming who God made you to be and living in that in-process stage. I just appreciate you and how you're building into me and so many people around you. So thank you, Lindsey, very, very much.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.